Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to be planting 5 southern wax myrtles. Somehow, in a year and a half of this channel, have not covered a plant that's native to my area and to my own yard. In fact, it's native to most of the southeast United States and even down into the Caribbean. Wax myrtles are fantastic screening plants or border plants. They can be limbed up into small trees or kept pruned down into fuller shrubs. This area on the other side of my fence, I planted 4 China Girl hollies 2 years ago, and for whatever reason, this is a very slow growing holly. It probably, it's a nice holly, but it's not rapid enough growing for me. These wax myrtles will be very fast growing. Wax myrtles are pretty rugged plants. They're hardy in zones 7 to 10, like I say, most of the southeast United States and up the East Coast, probably to New York, wouldn't be a problem at all. They're evergreen shrubs, but up in my area in zone 7 and probably even more so in zone 7A, they can thin out a little bit in the winter and look almost deciduous. They get a grayish blue berry on them in the late summer. Flowers happen in the late winter, early spring. Inconspicuous. You can't really, you won't see it flower really. There are male and female plants. The female plants are the ones that get the berries. The males just flower. We really don't know the difference between them, honestly, until it happens. I've never been able to tell the difference between them. The berry is very, very important to a lot of birds in the southeast, and it's an important source of food. They're called wax myrtles because the berries have a wax on them, and some people call them bayberries. That wax was used for quite a few things a long time ago, and even for candle wax. Somehow the birds are able to eat the berries and take the wax off somehow to digest the seed that's in the middle of it. It's kind of interesting. These are done in the nursery business most of the time from seed. They come up readily from seed, but it's difficult to get the wax off of the seed. These are absolutely beautiful when they're tree formed. They can easily and readily be limbed up over time and form a multi-trunk tree similar to a crepe myrtle. The only downfall or downside I have ever had with wax myrtles in the landscape is we are in a little bit of a region here where we're susceptible to more ice than snow. We're in this transition zone where it doesn't really snow a whole lot here, but we do, like I say, get ice storms, and these kind of have fragile limbs and they can easily be bent over to the point of snapping and breaking. So I have seen ice damage on these over time. They're so fast growing once established, boom, they just recover very, very quickly. Unless it was absolutely uprooted, it's not that big of a deal, but they are susceptible to it. It's something I have seen. Not really any insect or disease problems to worry about on these. They'll always have a little leaf spot issues on the foliage. The spotting, especially when you're getting one from a nursery, because they're overhead irrigating them with pond water, so the foliage is staying wetter than it would. This plant actually likes wet feet and almost looks like a different plant in a space with wet feet. If you ever see one of these near a creek or a stream, the leaves are big and bold and the thing looks like a tree. If you see it in a wooded space around pine trees where it's a little more drought stressed, the foliage tends to be smaller and it looks like a little shrub. That's kind of an interesting thing. It also will spread by rhizome under the ground. It can pop up, from roots as you go. If that happens over here, I'll just chop those off pretty quickly. Again, I'm putting in a super, super low maintenance plant that is a native to my area. It actually wants to be here. It shouldn't be any problem. It should cover my view down the street up very, very quickly here. So here they are in the ground. I only ended up using 4 of them. A few interesting things, additional things about southern wax myrtles is, number one, this is a nitrogen fixing plant. It's able to actually store nitrogen on nodules on its roots, and it's supposed to be better than almost any other plant at doing it. I know there have been studies about how important these actually were to the other native plants in terms of helping them out with nitrogen. I don't know enough to talk that intelligently about it, but it's a very interesting component. I use a small amount of fertilizer on these in the late winter, early spring, same as I do everything else. And any pruning I do would be done at that same time. That could have some impact on the amount of berries you're going to get on them later in the season if you're pruning them in the spring after they have flowered or even before they have flowered. But sometimes you just got to get them under control, and that would be the best time to do it to not negatively affect the plant. These are very deer resistant. The fragrance on the foliage on these is amazing. This is, if you've ever smelled, rubbed these leaves and smelled this smell, there's just absolutely nothing like it. So I said these were done by seed. So unless I have absolutely terrible luck, I should have both male and female plants here. They're in the wooded spaces around my yard and around my neighborhood anyway, so I should be fine on that. This is an actual issue in the nursery business is, let's say I came out here and I took cuttings off this plant. So let's say I did this from cutting propagation and I did not know whether this was a male or female plant. Then I grew those plants out and I sold them. I'd be selling all female or all male plants if that were the case, and that can be an issue. In order to make sure you're going to have berries and you get both male and female plants, you may want to buy these from a nursery that does native plants, where they will have taken cuttings off both male and female plants, or make sure they're being done from seed. If you're getting a long row of them, 20 or 30 of them to make a screen, if they're done from seed, you're almost certainly going to have a mix of both to make sure you have berries. These wax myrtles will be extremely fast growing once they're established. I may be able to get as much as 1.5 foot of growth out of them in a single season, but like anything else, they're going to go through a transition here where they're not going to do a whole lot of growing this year. So I'll water these pretty regularly to get started on them and to get them established over here. Once they're established, they're pretty daggone drought tolerant, but I'm trying to establish a screen here, so I probably will continue to water them even after they have rooted in until they're the size that I need them. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos.